Welcome to Big Blend Radio with your hosts, Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazine.com.
Welcome, everybody. Today, Nancy and I are excited to chat with metal music mogul Johnny Z. His book, his audiobook, and audio on Audible is all there. It is called Heavy-Tales, The Metal, the Music, the Madness, as lived by Jon Zazula. It is all there. You can listen, you can read, you can flip the pages, you can download, you can get it all everywhere. So check it out. Very excited to have John here. John, how's it going?
It's going real good. How about you, ladies?
We're doing good. We're doing good. Nancy, are you behaving yourself?
Me? Never.
I have to be honest with you. In this COVID situation, I'm an angel.
Oh, see, that happens.
What could you do wrong? What could you do wrong?
I know. We're all covered up.
Yeah.
We're all covered up. You know, now we're angels and covered and all that good stuff. But, hey, hopefully we'll all get, everybody will start. I don't know. We just want it to be normal. And I never wanted to be normal, but I do want normal back.
Right. And not the new normal either.
No. I don't want the new normal.
I want the old normal.
Yeah.
I
Very
still
excited.
want it the way it was in the 50s, I liked it back then. It was so simple.
Oh, man. I wouldn't know. I wasn't there. Nancy, would you know? You know a little bit.
I think I want to go back to the 60s.
The 60s were great.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 60s.
Way more fun.
Tell us about the beginning of you and your musical journey, because I know it gets into heavy metal, but going back to the beginning, like, who did you listen to just like as a kid?
Well, it's all in the book, but what I'll tell you is that my love for music started at a very early age. I started my record collection when I was 5 years old, when my Aunt Bobby and Aunt Faye came to me. Instead of with baseball cards, they brought me 7-inch 45 records, 45 speed.
Cool.
And there were Bobby Rydell, Shirelles, those kind of groups from the 50s. And for my first grade birthday, I got money to go and buy my first album. My father always had a stereo player, not stereo, mono, a record player. And he always played Broadway and classical music. All the time there was music playing in my house. Never a dull moment without music. And I went out and bought my first record, which was a Chubby Checker album.
Cool.
I went to buy an album that had the Twist on it. Remember the Twist?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And it didn't have the Twist on it. I didn't even know that albums had different songs, and you had to read them, and you might buy an album and not get the song you want. I didn't know, but I was so happy to make a purchase for $3 that I had, and I bought that for Twisters only. And then that turned me on to people doing the Mashed Potatoes, Dee Dee Sharp, and Bobby Rydell, and all that stuff. Then I grew up a bit, and at the age of 12, I used to run away from school with some of my friends who loved music too. And I lived in the Bronx in New York. And we would travel at the age of 12 on the subways, the trains, and maybe take 3 or 4 trains for 2.5 hours. And we'd go to Brooklyn. And there was a show there at the Brooklyn Fox Theater every year by a fella named Murray the K, who was known as the Fifth Beatle.
Mm-hmm.
And he would have his swinging soirees live at the Brooklyn Fox Theater. And I would go and see Stevie Wonder do Fingertips.
No way.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, doing Tracks of My Tears.
Ooh,
I
love that.
And then later on, at the age of 14 it was, he moved his show to New York. And the music had changed from R&B, but I went to see the Young Rascals do a set, And I ended up seeing a brand new band from England introduced. They came out and did one song and blew my mind and changed my life. It was the Cream.
Ah.
I went to see the Young Rascals. I ended up getting blown away by the Cream.
How about that? Wow.
Man, Jack Bruce. Long live Jack Bruce, man.
Jack Bruce, Eric Clapton, and Ginger Baker on drums. It changed my life, and that was the Marshall amp that was introduced to me. What happens when you play guitars to a Marshall? So from then, I went to The Who, to Jeff Beck, to Led Zeppelin. You know, but in '99, all that acid made me want to listen to the Grateful Dead and the Jefferson Airplane.
See, this is you go from one like the heavy rock, but then Led Zeppelin you could have a little acid in there too, couldn't you? Just a little.
Yeah, you could, but I got to tell you, I liked when they played the songs. I couldn't stand when Robert Plant did that vocal masturbation, you know? I just couldn't take it. For an hour.
He's got a new album coming out now, you know.
God bless him. He's very talented. I wish him well. I'll check it out, of course. But I went from Cream to the psychedelic era, and then Marsha and I met each other, who became my partner more than a wife, just my other half, period. And we loved jazz, and we were listening to Return to Forever, Chick Corea in '71, Wayne Shorter, Miles Davis, all that stuff, Coltrane, Rahsaan Roland Kirk, all those great jazz players. And then it happened. We got broke through our economic world we lived in. It changed rapidly on us. And to make some extra money, I had this massive record collection. I thought I could go to a flea market in East Brunswick, New Jersey. We lived in New Jersey then. And I could sell maybe enough of my records and some new ones I would buy. I had $120 to invest, $180 actually, from Marsha and me selling some records the week before. And we would take a little flea market spot, and we could rent it for $10 a day for the weekend, so $25, $5 on Sunday, and try to sell records. And when we were bringing in imports, that's all we would do, is sell records you can't buy in the States. They had to come from another country or my collection. And we called the store Rock and Roll Heaven.
Cool.
And we dedicated it to all the dead musicians. We even made a T-shirt with all the great musicians who died. You know, Janis Joplin, Pigpen, you name them. They were on the back of the shirt. And if you wore the Rock and Roll Heaven shirt into the store, you got 10% off. So the shirt was so cool, everybody bought it. The flea market was jammed with Rock and Roll Heaven T-shirts on any weekend day. And what happened was Marsha came back to me and the store. One day she was shopping at our warehouse. We bought from a warehouse at the airport, at Kennedy Airport in Long Island, where they just bought in imports. She came to me with records like Motorhead, Iron Maiden, Gary Moore. And I said,
Gary Moore.
This? She said, Johnny, you're going to love this stuff. Angel Witch, a whole bunch of stuff that nobody ever heard of. And I went crazy listening to it. The guitar work was so fascinating, and it reminded me of the heavier days of Cream and Zeppelin and all that stuff. So I became a big fan of what was then called heavy metal. And we were bringing it into the shop, and people were buying it and not buying the other stuff. I couldn't sell a Springsteen, but I could sell a Black Sabbath.
Wow.
I couldn't sell a Springsteen, but I could sell an Angel Witch or an Iron Maiden. And what happened was the whole store, after a year, 6 months, became all metal. Now, our $180 investment at that time was worth about $60,000 in inventory.
And things had too.
We were selling every penny we made. We plowed back into the inventory. And we just built the store up, and then people came to me and Marsha and said, guys, boy, we'd love to see some of these bands. You read about them in the books, because we brought the magazines from Europe, the heavy metal magazines, to the store too. And people could read what's going on in Canada, Rush and Anvil and Triumph, and they could see what's happening in England, Motorhead, Sabbath, Iron Maiden, and Raven and stuff like that. The new wave of British heavy metal, it was called. And we just brought nothing but that into our store. And before you know it, it was a mecca.
Wow.
The people that come from all over.
This is interesting to me about it being from the European side. Because we lived in England, we lived in South Africa, we lived in Kenya, and when I was a teenager in South Africa, that's what was out there. It was mostly European music, like everybody's watching the documentary of Sugar Man, Carl Rodriguez. He was like like Bob Dylan over in South Africa. I grew up with him as a kid.
South Africa, absolutely.
Yeah, and so Iron Maiden was huge. Gary Moore was huge. Danzig was huge. All of those guys were really a big part of it. And then when I got over to the States, it was, I don't know, it sounded so full of pop. It was really bizarre to me. It was just really different. And, the heavy metal scene was something that we just we had I remember even the parties as, you'd sneak out and go to don't, Nancy, close your ears.
I know everything that you did.
But, you'd go to these parties and everybody's dressed in black and, it was just this whole underground scene in South Africa when I was in high school. Yeah, it was at that time frame and of course it's very mixed European and very German, Dutch, everything. And then all of my friends in the other countries in Europe, they're all into that too. But what's also interesting is all of our musicians, especially in blues and things like that, tend to have to go overseas to make it more than in our own country. It's bizarre.
Right. One of my favorite records was Otis Redding live in Europe.
Not
in America. Dock of the Bay broke him after he died. Eric Dolphy live in Europe. Those are my albums. You had to go over there. People knew what music was. They loved their music. I didn't listen, by the way, to radio. Of course, I listened to the hippie stations, that creeped up in the late 60s, early 70s. But I actually haven't listened to the radio probably since 71.
Well, if you put it on, you're going to hear Hotel California over and over and over again. Every town we get into, we try to find the local stuff, find out what the local gossip is or local music, because sometimes you get lucky and you'll actually have what's coming out of the town. But I swear to God, every single town radio station has bought the same playlist, and they're playing Hotel California over and over again. So what's it like now? I mean, all these bands that you represented, and like Metallica and Anthrax, and you brought it out there. You taught people, hey, take a listen. They weren't really listening to this music, but I mean, that was a whole thing to push it. Now you didn't have the internet, all of that. And now when you look at what radio has come to, I don't know, man. I'm kind of bummed at what's happened to radio.
I don't listen to anything except metal stations. Sometimes I'll put on a jam radio station on, what do you call it, Sirius XM. I may listen to a dead station for fun if I'm in the mood, but I have all that in my collection to listen to, so why do I want to really waste my time when I can play obscure stuff myself? there is no radio in my life, by the way. I never was able to get it for my bands at the time I was in the business, except for some flirtations with MTV. I did everything underground.
Mm.
I mean, so underground to the tune of 40 million records,
Yeah, that's badass. I mean,
it's badass.
If you don't want to play, go somewhere else. Yeah, do it a different way.
Yeah, Marsha and I were badass. We would go to stations, and first we'd go to record store chains. We'd say, if you don't want to buy the records, how about this? We'll give you a box of records. You sponsor this radio show at 12 o'clock. We'll make it a metal hour. And we'll play my music and tell them you are advertising on it, and that's where you buy the records. And we blew up Philadelphia, and we blew up New Jersey, and we blew up San Francisco, and we blew up Oakland, and we blew up Chicago, and we blew up Texas. And that's how we did it.
That's awesome. And then doing the shows. I mean, I remember when we had our band, it was you'd go and put flyers out on cars and all over the place. Those are the days
bars,
that just
changed.
Yeah, man.
Every 3 days.
Go out there and put them out.
Marsha used to drive the car. I used to hang out the car. We used to do the telephone poles with posters like it was an election.
Cool. A lot better.
We once
show.
got a guy to dress up as a dinosaur, as a dragon, while we were blasting music from giant speakers, because they didn't have car speakers at the time, on top of a van. And the dragon came out with us, and we went to like Twisted Sister in-stores to promote our shows with a dragon. And that's when they first started Twisted Sister, and they were doing well in New Jersey. We would come and steal from their in-stores.
God, yeah, Twisted Sister. I remember Twisted Sister, man. God, have you heard of the band Bang the Band? They came out of Philadelphia, and they got their start. They said that, I mean, they were right there at the beginning of they say they were like one of the very first American metal bands. And they kind of Bang. They're called Bang. BANG.
Never heard of them in my life. Never.
Oh, I'm going to send you stuff. They're good, and they had one album out, and then the whole thing collapsed. And you know how band drama happens, too. That also.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
I've seen a lot of bands die.
Yeah.
From fights on stage.
Yep. That's exactly it.
Marsha calls it internal combustion.
Yep.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Well,
and then
that's exactly what happened to our band, right on stage.
Yep.
What band was it?
It was called Human Spirit. It was out of San Diego many years ago. Yeah, Human Spirit, and they did.
I put a band on tour all over the world called Mind Funk with a band called Nude Swirl from New Brunswick, New Jersey. Great band. Ahead of their times, before Jane's Addiction, sounding like Jane's Addiction.
Oh, yeah.
And we go to Paris to see them at the Zenith. What a great venue. What a great show. The big Zenith. And they start fighting on stage. So the show never went on.
Oh, no.
In Paris. Thousands of dollars to get there.
Oh, man.
I said, you know what, man? This is not worth my time and energy. That was the last you heard of them.
No, that's sad. And what do you do when you're watching that unfold? You know, it's that whole thing. It's like, oh, you're just watching it, and it's crumbling, and there's really nothing you can do when a band gets into that zone. You know, there's but then it was time to do something else.
What happened? And you know what happened at the record store, guys? Ladies?
What?
Somebody brought us a demo tape. One of 1,000 demo tapes that turned out to be real, real special. And you know who that turned out to be?
Who?
Metallica.
That's right, Metallica. But you Metallica, like, they're badass too, man. They really are.
They are badass. They were really badass when we started with them. They were about as badass as bad could be.
So that's how it all started for you with them. And Anthrax, how did Anthrax start
Well,
with you?
Metallica started with a demo tape, and then we promoted 12 shows with them in the Northeast, became their managers, their record company, produced their first album and all that. And the rest is history. Anthrax also chased us with demo tapes to sell at the record store and at the flea market. But
Wow.
they tried to get involved. We had a little record company that became the biggest metal label in history called Megaforce Records. And Anthrax used to always wanted to be on Megaforce, so they would drive Marshall and I crazy and bring us demos every other week. And you know what? They weren't good enough. All right, so Anthrax, one day, it's a legendary story, followed Marshall and I and my family to the International House of Pancakes in East Brunswick, New Jersey. And before we get in there, we're waiting online because it was backed up. They're coming up and they're bothering us. We go, what are you doing now? You follow us to where we're eating even? You know, can you give us a break? And Scotty Ian comes up to me. He's in the band. And he hands me a cassette of a song called, what was it called? Soldiers of Metal. And he hands me Soldiers of Metal, and he tells me it was produced by Ross DeBois from the Manowar.
Mm-hmm.
And it had a B-side even, Howling Furies, on the back. And we listened to it when we got home and were blown away. It was fantastic. And we ended up giving them a shot for management, which lasted 11 years. Jon Zazula, Marshall Zazula, and Anthrax, 11-year relationship.
Wow.
And we signed them to Megaforce Records. And they really became great in the studio, and that's the start of Anthrax.
Oh, over your years with, bands like Metallica, Anthrax, and all the dealings with musicians and selling, putting on the shows, what is something that you could reflect on of musicians getting out there now today, someone getting started? What can you tell them that, hey, this is some of the lessons we've learned and from musicians and when they have these big, the big combustion on stage in a fight and things, or just anything to tell them to keep going, because it's not easy out there. We may have the internet. However, the internet is a sea of other music too. So it's very competitive. What would you tell them about today from everything you've experienced?
Well, the one thing I've been preaching since 1982, and this was from a conversation with Lars Ulrich from Metallica and myself, is don't ever be cliche. Whatever worked for Joe Blow and his band worked for Joe Blow. It's not going to work for you. And if other people are doing it now, it especially isn't going to work for you. You have to think of something unique and different. And on top of it, you got to be great. If you don't make the hair stand up on my arm, the odds are you're not going to make it.
Yeah. And I think that's
now,
good
you may
advice
make
for
it in
entrepreneurs.
pop. You
Yeah,
may make
pop.
it in pop and all that stuff, but I have nothing to do with that. But when it comes to metal, I pretty much know what's great and not. And if it's great, it has a shot. And and what I tell everybody is, don't waste your time if you're just doing it for love and fun. If you really, you got to be really hungry, and you got to be really not cliche, and you got to be really great, and you really got to have an imagination. You got to figure out how to do it 10 yards at a time if you don't have a hit song. And if you're not willing to go and play that football game 10 yards at a time, don't bother. End of story.
Exactly.
That kind of works no matter what the industry is.
Yeah.
You really want to make it. You got to do your own thing, and you got to be consistent. Can't have fights on stage.
Fights on stage, and you have to do what they don't expect of you. Don't do what's expected of you.
How did you keep going through this? Because the music industry, that's a pain in the ass. Even though it's badass, it's a pain in the ass too, and it's a lot of fun. But it's
I'll
always
say this
changing.
with you. The hours were 17, 20-hour days for years. And I'll be honest, I had a lot of pharmaceutical assistants in those days. I haven't for many, many years since. But in those days, to keep going and stay on the road and stay awake and stay alert and get from one place to the next, it was very harmful to my system. I don't travel that well under those conditions. You know, you travel, 500 kilometers, 800 kilometers to get to the next gig. I mean, not easy. And you wake up and, you're lucky if you get a day room at a hotel.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Crazy.
Tell me about it.
It's crazy.
I'm trying to stay away from the pharmaceutical stuff, but it is a lot of
Well,
hours,
you don't need
yeah.
them. I found out that it's better to do it on your own schedule and do it without those things. Also, I really, I've also gotten very spiritual in my later years, which keeps me away from all that stuff.
Yeah, that's the core. It's good to have the core, for all of it, whether it's travel, it's that core that I think we all need, whatever our beliefs are, there's still that, you need that core of something bigger than ourselves, I think that we always have to remember that.
And you got to exercise.
Yeah.
You got to do yoga or something, especially when you're sitting in the car that much.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. We do a lot of stops and running out and taking walks and hiking, and you got to do that. Yeah, you got to have that, and you just got to move that body, dance a little, all that good stuff, But for you, and also putting out Heavy Tales, it's a memoir. You wrote it, wrote your own story, but then also for the audio. For Audible and everyone, again, Heavy Tales, you can get it on audio, you can read it, all kinds of things, so go check it out now. When you decided, hey, I'm going to do my own, I'm doing my own recording, which I think is cool and more personable.
Well, I couldn't have an actor. Hello, this is Jon Zazula, and I just took Metallica out on 17 dates. I come from the Bronx. I speak a certain way, and my English is what it is, but I tell the story in the book, in the audio book, the way I talk, the way I speak, and it's like I'm telling you my story. And I don't know if you heard the audio book, but a lot of people like that. They like the way I tell the story, and it's from me. It's not anybody else trying to be me or making believe they are or acting like they are. It's me.
It's great. No, it's great. I'm enjoying it. And I enjoyed also the foreword from Chuck Billy. So apparently you're a batshit crazy genius. That's what he keeps calling you.
That's what he said. That's what he said. But by the way, I am crazy.
Oh, Well, I think you have to be in any, I think you have to be it. If you're going to be an entrepreneur and you're going to change and also be, hey, bring metal to America and get people involved with it and do all that kind of stuff, you have to have an edge of crazy. And I think anyone in the arts has a touch of crazy too, I think it's important.
They're all a little nuts. And I want you to know something. Because you told me you lived in South Africa. Marsha and I signed a band from South Africa on Megaforce when we were on Polygram.
Really? Cool. What do you remember the name?
A band called Tribe After Tribe.
Huh. I'm gonna have to check them out.
Yeah.
Great South African band. They had to leave during the apartheid days.
Yeah. So did we.
Because they were very political.
Yeah.
And they were white boys looking for trouble.
Oh, dear. No, we didn't do.
So they ended up in L.A.
I've heard them.
They're great. Well, nobody could relate to them when I put them out and Marsha put them out. It was too tribal and too wild, a rock. It was like tribal rock. Really
I like
crazy.
that.
Very South African. And it didn't fly. We sold like 7,000 records.
Huh. He
Wasn't
also
a
worked
big
with
thing.
Warren Haynes. That's got to be cool.
Warren Haynes,
Mhm.
Allman Brothers lead guitarist.
Mm.
White,
God, yeah.
Government Mule is his band now. Sell
Yeah.
out everywhere.
Man, I love them. I really do.
Yeah, that album's very good. Did you ever hear the album?
Not that one in specific, no. But Warren, you know what? I've got a lot of Allman Brothers, but I didn't know the Allman Brothers when we got to this country, which was weird. When we got here, Pearl Jam was hitting it, and the grunge scene was coming on, and then you had, Alanis Morissette and all that going on, and we ended up in Florida, and I started just jamming a little bit with the bass player that played with the Allman Brothers, and his name was David Goldfleece, Nancy. I think it was. He was like he was with them for a little bit, just for like.
I don't know.
Got in with them.
Temporary.
Goldfleece, yeah, David Goldfleece.
There was a black one, O'Teal.
No, this was a short little guy and a little white guy.
I don't know.
Anyway,
Was he played with a band
he,
called Fog? Fog?
I don't know, but he played with the Allman Brothers for a few years as their bass player, and I had never heard of the Allman Brothers, and everybody's like, "You're playing with someone who played in the Allman Brothers." I'm like, I don't, whatever. And then I got into the Allman Brothers, and I can tell when you hit Florida and Georgia, you'll start hearing the Allman Brothers everywhere. And
oh yeah, well we love the Allman Brothers.
I love them, and Warren Haynes, I got into him through Derek Trucks and watching Derek Trucks. I just like to watch. So if you're playing, YouTube videos, that's where I got all stuck into Warren Haynes and Government Mule and.
Well, this is right before Government Mule. There's a song called "I'll Be the One." Write that down. I'll be the one. And Angel. And the song that has Angel in it, the name Angel. Those two songs will murder you on the album. The album is called Diary of a Madman. I think it's called that.
That's a good name.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to look this up now.
I think that's the name. Either that or Ozzy Osbourne has Diary of a Madman.
That sounds good for him, too. Ozzy Osbourne, that does sound right, though. Sounds good.
Yeah, I forgot. I'm trying to remember. My memory isn't all that. That's why I wrote a book, so I could go back and refer.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Everyone go look in the book or go listen in the book. I'll go check it out. But, no, it's awesome, the diversity.
Tales of Ordinary Madness.
Oh, I like that, too.
Tales of Ordinary Madness. If you can even find it, God bless you. There's a song called "I'll Be the One." You must hear that song. That is, to me, the signature Warren Haynes song of ever.
I'm going to go do that. We're doing that
Chuck
tonight,
LaBelle,
okay.
Clapton keyboard player,
is
playing the keyboards with him and produced it.
Sweet.
Yeah,
I'm
really
going to go check that out. That is. Now, what do you do about? I know you're saying you listen to certain things on the radio, like the jam thing or a metal. Do you still look out for new music? Because here's the thing.
Yes.
It's an interesting thing to get people to listen to something new. They get stuck in a musical rut often. So it's.
Well,
I personally
we get sent. Lisa, Nancy, we get sent stuff all the time by new bands. I don't love a lot of it. But I'll tell you that the musicians today in metal have mutated into superhuman beings. They play guitar like no other. And they play drums like you can't believe where it's gone. And the bass is uncontrollable right now, and the keyboards are off the hook. It's an amazing place where metal has gone. And just listen to the lead guitar work on a band just like, I'm trying to think of their names. Marshall, what's Derek's band? Not Derek, Jeremy Kling. What was the Absence? The Absence is a band, a brand new band out of Florida. Players from a band called Soulfly. The drummer's from a band called Benamink, but the guitar player is from a band called Arch Enemy. They're right in Florida, and they are spectacular. You got to hear the guitar work on this.
I have to check it out.
So that's a new band called The Absence that I don't even think have a label.
See, that's the thing, is how the labels. It's how that whole process works. You'll have a band that is just amazing, and if they're not if they don't have the right manager or they don't have one, should they have one? You know what I mean? Depending on there's that whole thing. How do they get from here they are, they've got all the skills, then they have to suddenly learn social media. Then if their social media isn't high enough, a label won't look at them. If they haven't sold their own album and had high enough numbers, how no one's going to look at them. So like it's a really tough industry.
It's very, very
really
tough. You got to also be hit by lightning.
Yeah. Yeah, you do.
God has to lay some thunder on you. It's a very hard place to make it right now. But thank God for Europe. I used to break my bands in Europe and then backward into the States.
I see what you mean. So rise gets the numbers
Europe.
up there.
Right, Metallica, Europe, a little America, Europe, and back to storm America. Anthrax back to take America. That's the way it goes.
Very cool. That's cool advice, because I think when borders and everyone can go out and about again, and fly internationally, it'll be easier. Right now, Tara Lynch, I don't know if you've heard her. She's like an insane guitarist, a metal guitarist. Tara, she's touring Europe right now. I think maybe she got stuck over there. I'll have to ask her. I think she just couldn't come home or something, so she's just touring around. I don't know how she made it to do it, but she is.
I don't even know
now.
how you're touring, because it's closed in many of the places. Yeah,
so it's a little different case for everybody from what I see. So I don't know. So it's I hope for musicians it gets better. Yeah, we all miss live music. It sucks to not have festivals and all of that stuff. I mean, it's a positive energy for everyone too, unless people get in the mosh pit and kill each other.
It's a big tribal thing.
That's right.
It's a tribal thing, and it's a tribal thing with a big release of energy. Get the yayas
feel
out.
the same. You
you
gotta get the
yaya.
rhythm. You got you all get stuck into the rhythm. So finally, everybody agrees on one thing at the same time.
Right on.
Yeah.
Is that something, huh?
Yeah.
It is. Wow. Well, Johnny, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a true pleasure, and listening to your audiobook. I'm partway through it. I'm not finished all the way, but I will, because we're going on a road trip again. So that's a really good listening material for on the
enjoy
road.
Florida.
Thank you.
Enjoy Florida.
I know we're going back.
You're gonna love St. Augustine.
We're excited. We're excited to be there.
We're really cool up there. And there's a lot of springs. My daughter just went on a tour of all the springs in Florida.
Oh,
that's a whole
cool
story unto itself, with all the manatees and all that come up to your boat. And, oh my!
Yeah.
Wow. Cool.
You go out in a tube. They give you tubes.
Cool.
Let's
Have
do
you ever
that,
done
Nancy.
that?
No, we haven't done the tubing. Well, Nancy did a tubing race down the river in South Africa and almost died. But
that
all right. Well, this is on springs, on crystal clear water, tides, springs. I'll tell you what. You have my number.
Yeah.
My daughter's not here with me, but just call me. Say it's Lisa or Nancy. If I don't pick up the phone, it's because I don't recognize the number. I may not just do a voice thing. And my daughter could give you all the names of the springs. They're all within 2 hours, 20 minutes of each other. And you could spend 2 days and do them all.
Oh, that's cool. Sounds nice, man.
I want to play with manatees. That'd be fun.
I know, that's the thing. I've never seen a manatee in the wild. Every time we go to Florida, I never have. And I really want to see a manatee in the wild.
I don't know if she got them that time, but they have underwater caves in these springs.
Ooh. That's cool.
If you snorkel. It's all good stuff.
Cool.
So come to Florida.
We are. It's paradise with tropical trees and palm trees and flowers, and you got such good birds, and you're in such a good place. It's nice and warm too. We want warm because when it gets to 60 degrees, I'm going to freeze. I'm not good at it, but we're going to do it.
Where do you live now?
We don't. We live 100% on the road. 100% travelers. That's what we do.
Wow.
From one place to the other, and so Pennsylvania, we've got for the rest of the year, we have a bunch of places in Florida, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware, St. Louis, Texas. Yeah, we're doing all that for the rest of the year. I know.
Well, when you go to Pennsylvania, make sure you go to New Hope in Bucks County.
Okay, New Hope.
You don't go to New Hope, Pennsylvania. Go to where George Washington crossed to Delaware. It's so cool around there. It's gorgeous.
Cool.
I think we are going to be right there. I think we really are. I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, New Hope, Pennsylvania. It's called Washington's Crossing. It's near New Hope, 7 miles away. That's right where he crossed with the boat, the Trenton, and all that. Oh, it's great.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, thanks for all the travel
You'll go
tips.
there, you'll feel it.
That's awesome.
So listen, folks, enjoy your life. It was wonderful talking to you both.
You too.
And I can't wait to see this.
Yeah, everyone, again, go get it now. It's Heavy Tales, the metal, the music, the madness as lived by Jon Zazula. And you can go to his website, jonzazula.com, and that's John with no H. And, I'm going to close with a song just because I know you like all genres of music. And this is from one of our favorite Johns. This is from Johnny Master and the Mama's Boys. Their new album is out now. It's called Elmore James for President. So here it is. This is one of my favorite songs off of the album. It's called Little Freddie is King. So enjoy. It's blues. This is real blues. All right. Take care. Thanks, John.
Take care. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.